everybody. So, I am a big fan of the Goodreads and I am trying to read 100 books this year. Which is a lot for me. I usually average like 50 to 70 books a year, and at this point in time I'm falling behind, but to help motivate myself and just like keep track, I am going to show you all the books I have read thus far. Some of them I don't have the physical copies for because I either read it in ebook format or from the library, and some of them I've just lent out. So I'm going to do my best to try and figure out how to do some editing magical skills. Alright, cool. I'm going to start from the beginning of this year up until the last book I've read. Alright, cool. So, first of all is Trono de Glace. Yes, this is a good series. It took me forever to get there, but I'm glad I'm reading it now, and I'm obsessed. So yes, this one gets a thumbs up from me. Next book I read was Milk and Honey. I'd heard a lot of hype about this. I'd kind of flicked through to look at all like the pictures and the formatting. So yeah, I kind of smashed this out pretty quickly. I actually really enjoyed it, and I do a bit of poetry myself, and I wouldn't mind doing something similar to this style one day. So that was really inspirational and cool. Alright, the next book I do not own. I read it from the library. So following a Gilmore Girls binge, I read Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham, which will hopefully appear in this general vicinity. I actually found it really good and really funny, but she's really awesome, so that's like no big surprise, and a bit of insight into the show as well, so it was like, yeah man. Alright, next book I read, I also don't have a copy of. I don't know where it went. I have it. It's gone missing. Which is Marked by Kristen and PC Cast. This was more popular when I was in high school, and I just never really got around to it. I finally did, and you know, it was alright. There were some things that I was a bit like, ooh, I may have outgrown this a little bit, but I still found it interesting, so I would be willing to continue with the series. It's just not like top of the list at the moment. Alright, the next book is the same case, I own it. Who knows where it is? And which is Need by Carrie Ryan, I believe. This was another one that was super popular back in my high school days, and reading it at 21, nah, it just wasn't very good, and the development was just didn't sit well with me at all. I just remember there were all these people that were like fairies or something, and it was very obvious that something was going on, and she just was so like oblivious, and like, I don't know, it was just, it really bothered me, and I'm just glad it's over. Alright, anyways, next book, or 3 books I'm going to say for this one, I read the Delirium trilogy. So previously I had read just Delirium a couple years ago, and I really liked it. It was just, I like the concept. It's good. So yeah, obviously there's Delirium, Pandemonium, and of course it doesn't match. And then Requiem, back to matching. I know a lot of people have a gripe with the ending of this, but I actually didn't mind it. I mean, it is nice to have a conclusive ending and who she picks and like the love triangle. But, you know, I don't feel like the love aspect was, like who she picked was that important in the end. It was more just about rebuilding this damaged society. Also, I really loved reading from Hannah's perspective, but it also made me really sad. But anyway, I'll try and do some reviews later to go further into that. Bye. Okay. I just realised I didn't read those back to back, but anyways, I read them. The next one I read was another one from the library, and it was called Amid Stars and Darkness. I don't remember who wrote it. I feel terrible, but it will come up with the cover. So there you go. This was like an alien-y kind of book and it had cool technology. I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series. It wasn't like up there, but it was still pretty good. And then I read Skylark by Megan Spooner. So this is one that's been on my shelf for at least like 5 years. I didn't know if it would live up to it. I thought this would be another one I just grew out of. But this one actually surprised me, and I ended up reading the whole series. So this is kind of like a mixture of like steampunk, fantasy, sci-fi, where there is kind of like machinery that is powered by magic. So it was pretty cool. And I enjoyed the arc of this series more than I have other books. So check it out. Do it. Alright, next book was from the library. It was P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han, part of the All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. And you know, this trilogy is alright. It's not one of my favourite. It is very light and fluffy, which is good just for a speed read, but it didn't wasn't that like mentally stimulating. But you know, some things I could relate to, so that was nice. The next book I read was Warcross by Marie Lu, also from the library. If you haven't noticed, I go to the library a lot because otherwise I would buy too many books, my people. Anyway, Warcross, I was a bit like, ooh, am I gonna like it? I'm not the biggest gamer, but I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. I really enjoy the world, and I'm keen to check out the next one when it hits the shelves. Next book is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I really enjoyed this novel. It was fun, it was good, it had the feels. This is actually the first book I've read by Becky Albertalli, and I intend to check out some of the other ones. The next book I read, or was, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I read this when I was on holiday on a cruise, because I was just like, oh yeah, summer read, and everyone just goes on and on about like, ooh, it blows your brain, the twist, and I was just like, alright, well, like, let's see. I just thought it was going to be like a casual read, and then I got towards like the end of the book and I was just like, and so we were doing like trivia and stuff on the cruise, and I'm just there going like, oh my god, it turns out that blah 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 blah, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm just trying to explain it and it's not working. But I think they just got the gist that I was freaking out a little bit. The next book I read this year was Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. This is the book about witches. It was alright. Wasn't like the best, but like, you know, I'd still be keen to see where it goes. So like, yeah. Also it's pretty. Okay. The next book I read, this was a reread for me. I read this in primary school, and I finally got myself the fanciest, schmickest edition for my birthday, and that is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. So can we just take a minute to like appreciate how beautiful this is? And it has all this cool stuff in it that like moves inside it, and it's just really cool. That's just some of it. Look, it goes on and on. But yeah, this is like my precious edition that I will only ever read in the confines of my house. This one does not travel. But it's so big and beautiful, and I want to read it to my kids one day. So good. So good. Oakley dokily. The next book I read was actually a play, because I'm going to count plays because I'm an actor. It was An Ideal Husband by Oscar Wilde. So this is, let's just ignore the rest of that. It was that one. That one? Yeah, cool. I enjoyed Importance of Being Earnest a lot more than this one. The subject matter and the themes were just a bit dated, so I was like, yes, this was a big deal at the time, but right now it's just not having this big of an impact on me and my brain state. The next book I read this year was Unearthed by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This book was so good. It was fast paced, it was mysterious, it was twisty turny, topsy turvy. It was great. Read it. I can't wait for the next one. It's gonna be good. The next book I read has been on my shelves for a few years, too many years, and that would be Icons by Margaret Stoll. I think she was involved with Beautiful Creatures or something. Anyway, the premise of this sounded interesting. This book was just not very good, and it was just vague and weird, and not in a developmental way. I don't care. I don't care for it, and I would not be continuing the series. Apologies, Margaret. After that, I read the sequel to Skylark, which is Shadowlark. Again, just good series. It was good. I was enjoying where it was going. I was enjoying the moral dilemmas and conflicts. I live for that. So, as I've said in an earlier video, when I first read the first Throne of Glass, I wasn't the biggest fan. You know, the competition was kind of taking the sideline to everything else. Plus I was just reading it like really slow in between other things. But then guess what I did? I read Crown of Midnight, guys. And it turned me. This book was so full of everything that was good and crazy and plot twisty, and it just expanded the world and my brain. And then I was like, okay, I need the books. I need to read all of them. I get the hype. I get it. The next thing I decided to do was read all of the Mortal Instruments. So, quick little story time here. So, high school, I started reading City of Bones because my friends were reading them and they were great. And I was borrowing them off my friends, and it got to the point where there was a hiatus. I think it was about 2 years until the next book. And during that time I was like, yeah. And then by the time it came out, I just kind of forgotten it. I didn't have all the other books, and it just seemed like a lot of money to buy them at once. So it kind of just took me forever to get all the books in my possession so I could read them in the right order. But luckily, through book fairs that are super duper cheap, I went and bought all of them. And I made my way through all of them. Except for, like, Infernal Devices. I'm on it, okay? I'm coming. Please, just give me a second. Alright, so, the next book I read was City of Bones. This is like the third or fourth time I've reread this, because I've had to reread it to read the whole series a couple of times. So, this was good, but I just was a bit restless because I was like, yes, I know. I've read this. I know. But still good. Alright. And then, after that, I read Lark Ascending from the Library, which was the finale of Shadowlark, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was good. The ending kind of left me hanging because it was leading into more story. So I just want there to be a spin-off or something to just get it all out, just get it all together, you know? And then I went back to Mortal Instruments with City of Ashes again. I've read this one before, and like just a lot of Clary's mum being asleep. That's mainly what I remember from this one. But yeah, good stuff. Then onto the third installment of the Mortal Instruments, City of Glass, where all the things happen. It was good. I see how Cassie Clare kind of did cut it off there, but she was like, oh, it's a trilogy! And then she was like, just kidding, there's more. So, you know, some people don't like that, but I feel like the continuation doesn't feel forced, and it's still working on things that were already, like, the groundwork was already laid for, you know? Alright, next book I read is Online to a Friend, and I read it from the library at first time anyway, which would be Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. Because I was waiting for Era 5 from the library, and I was like, when will it come? Please! So I was like, okay, in the meantime, I gotta read this. And it was great, and I'm glad I did, because it's important later. So anyone that's like making your way through the series, please read Assassin's Blade, because it's important. Just do it. It won't take you that long. Okay? Next book is another book from the library, and that would be They Both Die at the End! Yay! This was an interesting concept, and I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it's like my favoritist book. But yeah, overall, good stuff. Alright, the next book is the first book of the Infernal Devices. You all know it. Clockwork Angle, you know? So this is not, I didn't touch these at all the first like 2 times around. So this was just like a whole new world. And going into this, I know everyone was like, ooh, William Herondale. And I'm just there like, oh, William Herondale. Like he was not a nice guy for the beginning of this. And I was like, but Jem. Why is no one talking about Jem? Jem is a beautiful, sweet angel that plays the violin. But anyway, the next book I read was an ebook, which was Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout, I believe. I've gotten some hype over this and I was interested, and it was just kind of like a light read. And it was okay, but it was just like, it was a bit cringy. Like, I know things that are meant to be a bit like fluffy and romantic, but just the vibe just wasn't for me. Wasn't my cup of tea. Alright, the next one was from the library, which was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. So, this was so good. I cannot wait for the next one. And I've read her other series, but I think I might even like this one a bit more. Then I went on back to Model Instruments with Fallen Angels. And I always forget which one is like, I don't know, they all just kind of blend together. But I'm pretty sure it was good. I was enjoying flying through these Bibles. Then the next book I read was from the library, which was Defy the Worlds by Claudia Gray, a sequel to Defy the Stars. And I've read a lot of this author, and so far I've enjoyed pretty much everything I've read from her, but this series is just like, some good sci-fi, some good moral, mortal conflict dilemma. It's right up my alley, so it was just like, yes, coming to the next book with all of these pretty much. The next book I read, I went back to Infernal Devices, and I read Clockwork Prince again. Just classic, good stuff. Then I went to the City of Lost Souls. Yeah, it's Clary and Jace on the cover, probably. Yeah. Then I got to The Clockworking Princess. So, a lot of people are just like, I don't know, this has been hyped for like the longest time, but it's also because I've taken the longest time to read it. So I was like, okay, what's all the fuss about? What's the deal? And now I know. That epilogue especially, I was just like, oh my god, this is wonderful. I didn't even think this could happen, but of course it did, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful! So the next book, get this guys. It's not YA. I know. Pretty much everything on my shelf is YA. But I do want to try. I want to try and be well versed in classics. They like are a struggle for me because they take so much more brain power. But I did it. I read one. I read Brave New World because I love me some dystopian. And this was so good. Even just the beginning I was just like, damn. Damn this world, they starting early. They've got it all figured out. And, you know, ideally a lot of it would be, like, ideal. But it's just like, and the bleak ending. Love me a good bleak ending. Then I moved on to The Bine Chronicles. I mean, this was good. There were some good funny moments with Magnus, but it did just kind of drag. Like, there's just so many stories. Just make it like 5. There's like 12 or something. And I just wanted to get to the next book, but you know, still, Magnus is, he's cool dude, he's cool dude. Then I got to another long overdue book that everyone's talking about, and it just took me like a lifetime. And that is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And so, I don't know, I feel like the hype worked against this book for me. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it deserves the hype it gets. I mean, sure, I love that he was inspired by all like the pictures in it. Like, it's just cool and creepy and interesting and different. But the story itself, it just kind of felt a bit junior, which, you know, can be alright, but I don't know. You know, it was good, it wasn't the best, but I think I was just so caught up in this whirlwind of mortal instruments and throne of glass that I was just like, oh, this isn't epic. Not as epic anyway. But you know, I'll still make my way through the series. I'll do it. I'll do it. I just need to, like, get in the right mind frame and not be reading anything epic at the same time. That's it. Then I went back to the fine ale that is City of Heavenly Fire. And can I just say, trying to read 100 books, this is one chunky monkey. It is how many? How many? It's like 730 pages. That's not helping me get to 100, but it's good. It's good. I enjoy, yes, yeah. And then the long-awaited, I finally got to it. I finally got to Heir of Fire. This was more of a, like, a development-y kind of book, but, you know, it was just still so good. I love this series. Yes. After that, I went back to Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I went Red Hollow City. I mean, like, there are elements of the story I like, but overall I feel like we don't delve enough into, like, their mindsets. Like, why they're so happy to be reliving the same day over and over. I mean, it's still good. I'll read the last one, I promise. But it's not my jam. It's not my jam. The next novel is The 100 by Kath Morgan. So I decided to read this because I have been watching the show with my sister, and damn, that is a good show. That is some good show. Is the book as good as the show? No. Usually it's the other way around. I mean, it had its own charm, the book, but I feel like the show just goes into so much more. And the pacing of the book compared to the show is ridiculously slow. Like, one book was like 2 episodes. If. And I was like... Also, quick question. Anyone that's read them, like, do we get to know why that chick's name is Glass? Like, where did that come from? Is it a nickname? Is she just legitimately called Glass? I don't understand. And then I journeyed back to the Throne of Glass world of Aurelia. And I read Queen of Shadows. I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to put it up to the camera. But some of, like, the metallic-y foiling kind of faded off when I was reading it. I think it's because I was reading it in the sun and it just kind of, like, melted away. But, you know, it looks lived in. It looks rustic. You know, it's just like her blade has been a bit rusted from battle, you know. Also, this one was just like slap you in the face with all the action and all the craziness, and it was great. And then I absolutely had to go and read Empire of Storms. And this is so good. And I just love this series. And I keep saying that, but it is true! And I know I don't have to wait nearly as long as people that were reading it as they came out, but, like, we need Kingdom of Ash. Like, we need it. And I don't feel like many people are talking about Kingdom of Ash right now. Like, how is that not on the top of anticipation? Because it is. Man. The next book is from the library, but I haven't returned it yet. And that is Always and Forever, Lara Jean. And once again, like, these are a little bit junior, but they're still fun and just, like, flickety-doo. And, I don't know, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not, like, the hugest fan of Peter Kavinsky. Like, I'm just a bit like, I'm not sold on their relationship. But this one did make me cry. Like, those breakup feels were just, like, hitting home, and I was just like, And now we're up to the most recent novel I've read this year. This one was a reread, and that is Scythe by Neil Schusterman. So I read this last year from the library, and I was just, like, in love with it. It was my favourite book of the year. So I went and got it, didn't I? And so I've reread it so I can read Thunderhead, which I am currently reading. Let me show you what I'm currently reading. So, currently I am reading Thunderhead by Neil Schusterman. It's naked. But yeah, so this one is a bit more exciting because I haven't read it before, and I'm interested to see what it's cooking. We've got some new people going on, some new coups, some new people in cahoots, you know? Some more of the thunderheads like Brain. Yeah. And this one I just started today. I've like made the smallest dent. But it's a dent is a dent is a dent is a dent. And that is Lady Midnight. Because again, these are just chunky. It's gonna take forever, and I want to be ready for Queen of Air and Darkness later this year. So far on my journey to read 100 novels, I have only read 46. And I believe Goodreads is telling me I'm 2 books behind, but you know, I'm determined. If I just read some plays, if I just read some skinnier books, if I just like really dominate my time with reading, it can be done. And you will see them. You will know them. I will read them. And they will be read. So yeah, for the remainder of this year, I don't try to plan too much my TBR ahead. It's just kind of what I feel and what series I have that I can just binge read because I love to do that. Anyway, thank you guys, and I'll keep you updated on my reading.